Greetings, everybody. Day 7 on the 30 days transparency. Feeling, going through the waves big time. Was feeling good. Good's not feeling. I was feeling quite released and soft after a beautiful 2-hour sharing that I just had with a group of friends, and we come together to talk about just community and a piece of land that we've been talking about. And I'm always blown away by the power of closing your eyes and just sharing. And I've been doing this for a long time now, so let me drop in with that. So we had this beautiful sharing, and one of the things that came up in the sharing was that so many people are not being listened to, like truly listened to. And also, so many people are not having a safe space where they can really share exactly what's going on for them, what's really alive for them. And I see this on the retreats that we create and the sharing circles that I create, when people get to just share exactly what's going on for them, the deeper stuff, not the surface stuff, the noise, but really what's going on, the pain, the struggle, the frustration, the overwhelming, and so on. Then they feel a lot more released, a lot more soft, a lot more open. And that's how I felt doing the sharing, because I had some stuff coming up around that I wanted to share around transparency and talk and so on. So one of the things that I don't do is gossip and talk about others that's not in their highest light. And if I find myself ever talking about somebody like in a diminishing way or putting them down, then I'm always bringing that back to myself. And then if say, for example, I had a conversation with somebody else about a person, then I would know in that instant that I would then go and speak to that person and say that we had this conversation. Because otherwise I just fuel more drama and gossip. And the thing with drama and gossip is you never know what the full story of anything. So we just have these assumptions and personalizing going on. And then what come up as well is in our sharing at the end was just how so many people commit suicide. Lots of people commit suicide. They just can't. They can't face life. And they want to exit. They want to get out. Somebody said something once to me about suicide. How like suicide can sometimes be that they also don't want to face the death that's constantly happening, and the suffering and the pain that's constantly going on, and the separation and the exclusion and the loneliness and all of this, like, let's say the symptoms of where we go when we feel so separate from the whole, separate from the big, vast mystery that's unfolding. So I feel, then what happened is that, like, the last week I felt super challenged, and I feel quite tearful now, and I've got a headache and my stomach's playing up, and I feel super challenged by the constant, let's say constant, but the cycle of what some would call the ego identification. So when I talk about ego, I don't want to sound like there's just one ego, but there's a part of our ego. Like we need our ego, like this, the definition of what ego means. There's a part of that we actually need to exist and to survive in this on this planet. And then there's a part of the ego that just wants conflict, just wants suffering, just wants to be right all the time, just wants to be diminished and depressed and separate and so on. And and when you have this awareness, psychological awareness of yourself, and you're watching yourself, and you're realizing you're not these stories and these masks, and you're not these certain behaviors and conditioned ways of acting, and you're listening, really, you're observing, really listening to the words you use and the behaviors that happen. And sometimes it can get really, really challenging, almost like sad, like I'm feeling quite sad because of this behavior that wants to stay alive, the behavior traits that want to stay alive in my relationship and also in me. Yeah, and this sometimes, at times, this unwillingness to just soften and open, open in love, open in compassion, open in empathy. There's a real stubbornness that comes and plays out and like wants to prove its point and wants to be right and wants change, and is resistance, is resistant and like I've been feeling a real wave of resistance. And even now I feel like sort of something happened with me and Dara around. It's been building, it's not the surface level stuff, but it's been building through our needs not being met, and this always happens when our needs are not being met, and each time the cycle shows up, it's like a spiral. So it's, a relationship is always giving you really your best mirror to look at your shit, to look at your actions and behaviours, and it's horrible. It hurts my head as I say that. Pain in my head. And I've just been noticing this last week, since I had this real emotional release, which was lovely, lots of tears. You might have heard I mentioned it in the last one of the videos that I shared, and yeah, just like a lot of resistance and subtle pain that's lingering, and not really knowing how to fully define it. It's like, it's a mix of all these dense frequencies and a mix of all these survival emotions all mixed into one. But I always feel it when I feel it either heavy on my eyes, or I feel like my head is scrunched. Feel a heaviness in my head, I can feel it moment to moment. I can look at that, and in times it just wants to stay there. It just wants to be, almost wants to be in that. There's a comfort in that wallowing or that pain or that separation. It's familiar, and it's like, it's sort of got that energy of like, fuck the world, fuck everyone, and like, and there's no real empathy or real love in that space, because it's just in the judgment, in the expectations, in the conditions, and that's deeply layered in us, in me. So yeah, I got this image popping up. I've had to share this 3 times. This will be the 4th time I've shared it, so it seems like it needs to come out again. So I was looking for a picture of a lion. Just even just saying this just like brings, like, in this moment I get like this pain in my stomach and restriction in my breath. And of course I've got mixed thoughts going through, like, why am I sharing this? Why am I doing this transparency? Who cares about, listening to this? What's the point? But But there's something wanting to come through me at the moment in terms of doing these videos, and so I'm just going with it. To prove, for me, there's something in proving that the level of transparency that's required in order for us to transcend the lies and all the crap and open up, really open up what's going on inside of us, because it's all just surface level. I just see surface level everywhere. And people might put me in some sort of like hierarchical position and put me on some pedestal, and like, for me, there's no pedestals, there's no hierarchy, there's no superiority, there's no gurus, there's none of that shit when you come into a place of authenticity, a place of love, a place of transparency. Everyone is equal. There's pure equality. Yes, we learn from each other, we mirror each other, we grow with each other, but it's everything's together. It moves from me to we. So that's really what I bring to any space, any retreat, any conversation, is just this realizing that we are, we have it all in us. We have the capacity to express what's in us, and through that expressing, we can really free ourselves from invisible chains, shackles, the invisible prison, conditioned programming, subtle indoctrinated thinking and behaviors. So I was looking for this picture of a lion, and for a post I was writing, and then I found a few different ones, and then I saw this lion this dead lion, and I noticed that there was a man sat by this, and it had a rifle, a gun, and then I was like, wow, what the hell? And of course I know hunting happens around the world, and I have seen a picture like this before, but this one just stuck out to me, and I was like, I clicked on it, and then I went and looked at some of the other pictures. And I know when you start looking at pain pictures, or I've watched so many documentaries of, whales being hacked to death for sport in different parts of the country, I think in Sweden and other parts. I've seen dolphins being hacked to death to be sold as meat, and I've seen animals being battered and butchered, and I've watched humans being killed, and grew up watching loads of films, just violence, not so much horror movies, but some horror movies, and just sheer violence. Our society is just pumped with it. It's like subtly underneath so much of what we see, underneath it is just violence, manipulation, and anyway. So I clicked on these pictures, and then I, continued to look at a few more, and all I kept seeing was these beautiful, beautiful creations, these beautiful, majestic, magnificent, like profound, I don't even know words to describe these creatures, right? These expressions of life. And then I can't help but adjacent looking at the photos of the energy that's coming from the people that are killing these beautiful divine expressions of life are deeply ugly. Like, I don't know what word to look at. Ugly, distorted, dysfunctional, overweight, obese, like, just all I see is unconsciousness in them, yeah? And I know that that's a full-on judgment, and I want it to be an observation. I want it to be an observation, like, what the hell? Like, they're sitting there proud that they have walked around with a gun of bullets and metal made out of the same planet that's created everything and wiped out these beautiful, phenomenal expressions of life. And yeah, okay, these lions in nature, they kill, right? And in these, we know that death is part of life. Killing is part of life, right? So it's like to not be attached to that, and then just to be with that. This week I've been sitting with that all for the last 4 days. It's been a big one. It's brought up loads. It's like I'm going, how can I want to transmute this. So I'm breathing with that, and I'm sitting in the meditation, and I'm just observing, and I'm observing my thinking, and the anger that comes up around that. And of course, it's a gift, right? It's a gift. They brought me a gift, right? They brought, you know, this is the thing, right? How to transmute it into love, but not bypass what it's making me feel. And like, you know, it's no point in me judging them, condemning them, putting them down, and just like, you know, wanting them dead, because that plays into the same energy that's even negligently and ignorantly wiping out species after species with no consideration anyway, right? That's where that drive comes from, that whatever. I mean, like, what's in your head, you know? You get addicted to the adrenaline, you get addicted to firing the gun, you get addicted to shooting stuff. It's happening in Malta with the birds, it happens all around the world, elephants, and, you know, so many beautiful creatures just being killed, right? And then there's obviously an addiction and a lust and an energy in that is so, for me, dysfunctional, distorted, and at the same time, I don't want to fall into the right, wrong, good and bad, and I want to see, like, okay, what is this? What are they showing? Because we have everything that you can imagine being shown to us on this planet, in this reality, in this projection. You know, it's all happening. So, you know, it all has its role. Yeah, and just, anyway, I wasn't even planning on sharing this, you see. I actually wanted to talk to the suicide and the people not having a place to share what's really going on inside of them, and whatever. This is obviously perfect because this is what's going on inside of me. So in that anger, in that sadness, in that closure, of course I close off to everything else. I close off to Dara, the woman I'm walking with right now. I close off to Maya, it's Dara's daughter. I close off to society. I close off to the lies. I close off to, you know, all of it. Just like, I just see the bullshit and the lies in it all, and then I get like, you know, I get frustrated in that, and then I get sad, and then I get tired, and then I get like hopeless, and feel into that hopeless emptiness. In that helplessness, yeah, I feel helpless. Yeah. You know, and then like, what do you want in that space? It's like, I know. Simon, the name of the persona Simon, knows that to use that as fuel to feel that, and what I feel I heal, and then to transmute that into action and response, not reaction, you know. So this week I just reacted a little bit, you know, still catching me sometimes, and then I want to respond, and normally I want to respond with, this is why I live, this is why I do what I do and offer what I offer and share what I share in the world, because I just feel that it can be a different way. And I don't want to say that it's wrong. You see, this is the thing, I don't want to fall into that it's wrong or it's right, and that's because, you know, because some people would say how I've acted in my life is wrong, and everything that's ever happened to me has happened the way it's had to happen. I've done what I've done in order for me to be here today. So I really, really resonate that there is no right or wrong, good or bad. It's like, you know, somebody kills somebody, and then through that experience they learn something, and something changes, and something happens in their family, and life continues, and it's all had to happen the way it happened in order for us to be where we are now. So even these people wiping out the lions and the elephants, and, you know, all the other things that are being wiped out, even if it's so hard to grasp, which it is sometimes with the mind, with the thoughts, or wherever the mind is, you know, the whole body is the mind, but, you know, with the thinking, it's, you know, it's hard to wrap your head around it sometimes. And you can't. In fact, the thinking and the head can't wrap around it. It doesn't make sense. Like, what the fuck are they doing? You know, that's what wants to come out. It's like, what? Why would you do that? You fucking nuts. You know what I mean? You stupid motherfuckers, you know? That's the energy that's inside. It's like, why would you do that? And then it's like, but then it's that same energy is like, why would I do the shit I do, you know? Why would I act the way I act? Why are my behaviours so fucking unconscious, you know? Why do they come up? Why do they show up? Like, where does that come from? You know, you feel that in the expression right now. It's like, you know, it's in there. Why would you wipe fucking shitloads of human beings out? Why would you kill species one after the other for some fucking pleasure? Why would you wipe out manta rays to get the gills, to give the gills for some stupid medicine that isn't even medicine because people motherfucking believe that? It's like, you know? It doesn't compute. So, you know, I feel that, man. Shit, I feel that. And that's just a scratching of the surface of what I feel walking around. Like when I see people ignorantly obese and eating shit that's being fucking sold to us like it's good for you and it's wiping people out and causing disease. I mean, it's like it can go on. I could share so much here. Like, you know, the negligence. And as we know, it's a bottomless pit. As infinite as life is, as infinite the darkness or the ignorance is as well. So it doesn't serve me to stay there for long, but when it's in me, I'm not going to cover that shit up with some, you know, yeah, it's all good. It's like, no. It's actually in that moment, it's not all good. You know, in that moment, duality does kick in and there is right, wrong, good and bad in that moment, you know. Then I've got to like, you know, I have to breathe. I have to like, all right, it's all fucking happening. Shit, okay, shit's hitting the fan there. That shit's going down. That's happening over there. They're getting wiped out. Kids are getting wiped out for fucking diamonds. Arms cut off to buy diamonds so some motherfucker can get married in the West and put a diamond ring on their finger and make out they're in love. Some fucking kids are being killed dead daily for that shit. Yeah? So it's like, you know, there is, man, I haven't swore this much in a long time. And live. You know, I stopped swearing a long time ago. Every sentence was a swear word for me. And then I realized swearing in itself is like, mostly when used without, you know, even now to some extent, but even used all the time just for the sake of it, it's just lack of vocabulary, right? In my opinion, for me, that was my opinion. So I stopped that. I had to break habits of actions that I had that I picked up. You know, sexual habits, bloody voice habits, you know, words that I used, repetitive nature, you know, the habits, the addictions that just don't want to die. They don't want to die. You know, change is constant, and these actions and habits, they're engraved. They don't want to die, and I see it. You know, I journey. So many beautiful people share with me so openly, so I get to witness and hear people's stories, and it's a pattern, constant. People doing shit they don't want to do, acting the way they don't want to do, knowing there's a different way, but just don't know how to break it. And that's where I am today. That's where I am sharing that, right? Like to give you an example. Had this lovely sharing, 2 hours, beautiful love shared, loads of gratitude, love. Got off the call and then instantly had a conflict with Dara. Instantly. About belief and Santa Claus. Can you imagine? About Santa Claus, right? About lying to our kids about fucking Santa's coming to deliver presents. Bollocks, yeah? Just consumerism rifely in us, you know? Indoctrinating ourselves. And yes, festive season, time for giving. Yeah, fuck time for giving. It's time for giving every day. Not just when we're told by consumerism or false religion. Yeah? Mixed stories of whenever this person was supposed to come around, or who the hell is Santa anyway. So anyway, so you feel my frustration about that. So I need to release that. So anyway, I released that out in stupidity towards the woman that I love and I journey with, and towards other people, because that's in the field, right? That energy of society is thick. Fear is thick. The energy of the stories and the masks is thick. It's not for the faint-hearted to try and strip away. Ignorance is bliss. So yeah, so then that happens. And it's like, oh, now I'm like, oh man, shit, I'm doing this transparency, you know, yesterday it didn't happen because unexpectedly I had to go to 2 places. So it's like, I've got to do day 7, and today, and then I'm like, no, don't bother doing that. You know, do yoga, go and do some breathing, go for a walk. No, don't do your video. And I thought, no, wait there. What? Go and do breathing, go for a walk. Yeah, that's the tools I use to transmute this, and at the same time, feeling this and owning this and expressing this. Yeah. That's fuel, yeah? That can be transmuted like alchemists. We're alchemists. We can use that fuel. We can not judge anything that we're feeling as right or wrong, good or bad, but just feel it. And then allow it, the energy to move, not to condemn, not to judge, not to put down, and just feel that energy in us and then move it, yeah? Move it into creation. Yeah, move it into creation. So, that's where I'm at. This is 25 minutes. I didn't even think I'd be sharing for 25 minutes. Look. And then we wonder why we don't have space to share, because people don't even have time. If you've listened to this for 25 minutes or 30 minutes, respect to you. I honor you. Thank you. Because people don't even have time to share this. People don't have sharing circles or friends like I do to come together. People don't create safe spaces on retreat and dedicate their life to creating spaces where people can share. And you know, sometimes people just share for like 8 minutes, 12 minutes, 15 minutes, and they feel liberated than ever before just with 15 minutes of sharing in a workshop, right? And I'm sharing 25 minutes here, so you can imagine when we crack open that lid, what's in there. And I've been doing this for 10 years. 7 years of like sharings and sharing circles, and now regularly in retreats and events. And with Dara regularly in my relationship. And with my mum and with Lloyd and with other people in my circles. So, if you've listened this far, I feel clearer. Maybe I needed to speak to myself. I needed to share this. This is how we share in groups. We put a timer on. Everyone has a certain amount of time. And we're invited to feel into the body. Like right now, I'm feeling clearer. My stomach feels eased. My head's eased off. The weight behind my eyes is eased off. And the body is constantly communicating when we listen to it. And when we give it space to speak, it says everything. It releases us. And it's okay to feel what we're feeling. But to deny it, to run away from it, that's when it becomes toxic. When we suppress it. But when we express it, it becomes creativity. It becomes transmuted. But we have to have safe spaces. Can't just blurt this stuff out on somebody and speak to them for loads of time and just spit it out on them. They're going to end up feeling attacked and violent, and then we're using the same energy that is creating it anyway. You see that? Because we're energy beings. We're all energy. So we're taking that energy and then we spit it on other people, our close loved ones, our friends and so on, and they just get the toxicity. Which is what I did today. And I did this and I did this, and I'm aware of these practices. And then that, you know, and then the pain body is sly little fox. Because the pain body then go, yeah, it starts telling you stories. Like, you know, you're not very wise, you're not very conscious, you're not very awake, you're not a good man. Look what you just did, look how you acted. And it wants to keep you in that perpetual state of suffering and separation and anxiety and unworthiness and low frequency and density and diminishing self. So you have to express it, you have to open your heart. And even open to all of that, open to the violence, open to the aggression, open to the overwhelming, open to it all. Open the heart in that space, and then you can see with bigger eyes, real eyes. And then you realize, then you see the bigger picture, and then you can communicate from that bigger picture. That's where you're communicating from compassion and empathy and unity and inclusion and connection and love and expansion and inclusion. transparency. But you've got to find a distinction between the different frequencies that are driving your communication, or my communication in this case. And the pain body is so sly, it's stubborn. It doesn't want to bring a sharing together. It doesn't want to say sorry. It doesn't want to look at itself. It doesn't want to dissolve the fight. It doesn't want to dissolve it because it's familiar with that. It's like, yeah, it's ready for that. Also, it can get exciting in that place, and you can become addicted to that persona and that frequency. It's very, very powerful. Think of what it's created around the world, the wars, the violence. Think about how powerful that is, and how sometimes a speck of violence and fear can tarnish so much light, it seems. But at the same time, one little flame can brighten up a whole room, a whole whatever, a whole big space. Yeah. So there you have it. Thank you for listening. I don't have the answers, but one thing I know for certain is that transparent communication, showing up and sharing what's alive in us, has been the guiding tool for me. And it's been the most powerful tool for me for resolving conflict, releasing toxic energy, and opening in that vast, boundless space of what many call love. So, I'm pruning, I'm cleaning. And why am I doing this? I'm doing this for myself, and I'm doing this for the collective. Because we know that if there's any transformation going to occur, it's going to happen within us. And we're moving through huge transitional times. And this sharing practice that we use and share is just one tool to support us through these massively transformative and chaotic and transitioning times. So I say again, if you're in your communities, your environments, your families, wherever you are, if you can create a safe space, close your eyes, put a timer on, set a pure intention for the circle, and then allow everybody to speak. Like you've heard of the speaking stick in the, some of the old ancient ways of doing it. And let everyone just express without judgment, without personalizing, without assuming. And just allow everyone to express what they're going through and what is driving them, what pain is driving them, what emotions are driving them, more importantly, what energy. And so I send thanks and gratitude to the images I've seen this week and the challenges I've had this week and the emotions that have moved this week, because they've allowed me to clean and look at myself, which is sometimes painful, but always liberating. And we always end with gratitude. Every circle we end with gratitude. Every sharing. So I'm grateful, as I just said, and I'm also grateful to you for listening. And if this was benefit to you in any way, that's great. If not, you've just witnessed me in this moment sharing transparently.